Hari Om. Start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Ayo. So, as a part of Means of Moksha, we are discussing the Jiva Swarupam and Ishvara Swarupam, and where the identity of the Brahmatmaikatva Bodha required for moksha. This is na yogena na sankhena karmana nona vidyaya Brahmatmaikya bodhena moksha siddhati na anyatha. So only the way liberation comes only when I recognize that I am Brahman. That means I am the totality. Therefore, I am infinite. Therefore, I don't need to look for something to make me happy, because with everything I am already contented. Therefore, I am happy by myself. And that is what essentially Aham Brahmasmi means. Because I am not looking for anything other than happiness. So all these are implied. Vedanta puts it in the form that you are Brahman, and that means I am everything infinite. But that teaching is opposite to of my experience, and therefore experience is not knowledge. Knowledge clears whatever we experience. I am experiencing the limitations. Vedanta says, because you are misidentifying yourself with what you are not as you are. All that is implied in this. So, because other acharyas say that experience is real, and whatever I see is real, and they have orders of reality also, that the highest reality is Parabrahman. So we have anything that is relatively real is Vyavaharikam. So including if I have Parabrahma also, they have a reality of separation, that is also part of the relative reality only. So absolute reality cannot have any parts, and that is called Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, and Anantam means infinite. Infinite cannot have any finites in that, because infinite is Akhandam, unbroken, and you cannot have parts made up of parts into infinite. That's why mathematically not possible also. Logically not possible, and scripturally also it's not true. And therefore, the Advaita Vedanta insists that you are infinite, and now we are looking at the Brahman aspect or Ishvara aspect. From the point of Vyavaharika, Brahman as though is Ishvara creating the whole world. And when he creates the whole world using Maya Shakti, Maya is not different from Avidya, or the total vasanas of all the jivas put together is the Samashti vasanas, and Samashti vasanas came due to Samashti Avidya. All that are implied. And when he say Ishvara is a bimbam or reflected consciousness, so Jiva is reflected consciousness, Ishvara is also reflected consciousness. From the pure Brahman, it's only pure Brahman. We call it, from the Jivas is a Kutastha Chaitanyam, that is called Brahma Chaitanyam. And their equation is that Kutastha Chaitanyam is same as Brahma Chaitanyam, Tat Tvamasi, because that is the substantive part in both the Jiva and in both the Ishvara. So Ishvara is, how do we define? It is the Brahman with the reflection of the consciousness in the Maya. So that's essentially what we call about Ishvara. So Ishvara also called reflected consciousness, the original consciousness. There is no Jiva, no Ishvara, no Jagat. And only the reflecting medium is now different for the Ishvara and for the Jiva. For the Jiva, the reflecting medium, as we went to start with the Karana Sharira, causal body, then drifts down to Sukshma Sharira, and further drifts down to the Sthula Sharira. all that is implied in the Jiva aspect. Now, from the point of Ishvara, even though Maya, even though it is total ignorance is due to karma is responsible, but he is not, does not have avidya, therefore he is a jnani. So even though, this is very important to understand it, even though Ishvara is utilizing or reflected consciousness in the Maya Shakti, but Maya Shakti aspect of the Avarana has been suppressed completely, only the Vikshepa and the Jnana Shakti are evident in the Ishvara sake. So in fact, it is the Sattva Guna and the Rajo Guna only. Tamo Guna, he can bring it as he wants, and we'll go into that analysis little later. But from the Ishvara point, when he's creating, it is the Vikshepa Shakti that is projecting the whole 14 lokas and all that. And from the point of Jnana Shakti, in order for creation, he should be Sarvajnaha, and not only Sarvajnaha, Sarvajnaha in the sense of creating of the objective world of 14 lokas and all jivas and everything. Also, he has also both Paravidya and Aparavidya. Aparavidya is the whole creation aspect is Aparavidya, and Paravidya from his point is same as the Paravidya from the Jnani point, which is nothing but Aham Brahmasmi. That knowledge he has. Therefore, contrasting in terms of Jiva versus Ishvara, Jiva, because he is Avarana Shakti, is covering his true nature, he takes himself as I am this body and mind and intellect. Whereas Ishvara, he does not take himself as the body, mind, intellect. He knows I am Antaryami, I am a controller, and I am the one who can project the whole thing and also withdraw whenever I want also. That power of creation with an understanding and with the jnanam that there is only Aham Brahmasmi is also there with the Ishvara. So Ishvara is a jnani, whereas Jiva is ajnani. And Ishvara from the Jiva point, I have a waking state and a dream state and a deep sleep state. And the Ishvara point also, we can talk about waking state and a dream state and a deep sleep state. But from his point and how from the Jiva's point, is a parallelism is been compared in the Mandukya Upanishad. It says from the Vishwam, Tejasa and the Prajna are the three levels of where waking state, dream state and deep sleep state for the Jiva. For the Ishvara, it talking about Virat in the case of the waking state, and the Hiranyagarbha in the case of the parallel to the Tejasa, that is Sukshma Sariram, that is in the though in the dream state, and in the case of the pure deep sleep state, and that's essentially Lord himself is called Antaryami or Ishvara in the Mandukya Upanishad. All this is implied. So now when the Jiva goes to sleep, we call it Laya. Laya means where I am folding the mind, and when it folded, all expression is absence of the knowledge of the subject-object relationship. Subject-object and then relationships are completely gone. It's absence of the knowledge, and which we call it ignorance. I do not know myself and I do not know the world also. So that continuous, undifferentiated, akhanda, akara, ajnana vritti. Akhanda means unbroken, that which is of the form of unbroken ajnanam. Ignorance is persist in the case of the Jiva who is ignorant. The ignorant Jiva is what we are talking about, and that's in the Laya, in the deep sleep state. So same parallelism, Vishwa, Tejasa and the Prajna for the case of the Jiva, it is expressed on the totality from the Ishvara point, the Virat. That's what we see in the 11th chapter of Gita, where the Krishna shows his Virat Swarupam, where all jivas and Prakriti, everything is there as a part of his body. And that's what Ramanuja defines in terms of the Ishvara itself as the absolute truth also. From the point of Leela Vibhuti, he calls that as a Virat Swarupam. And when he calls of the Divya Vibhuti, he takes over the pure Sattvam. For from the Advaitic point, pure Sattvam comes because Ishvara is also have a pure Sattva even in the stage, because he is knowledgeable of the creation also, even while the creation going on. And when he goes to sleep, when the Ishvara goes to sleep, if you want to say, that we call it a pralaya. Pralaya means that where the totalities, all things are absorbed, just as there is the distinction at the individual level, the jiva, the subject-object relationship, it's in the form of my own karana sarira, causal body. I am in the causal state of my causal body. But there is no distinctions of my, you and all that, because that comes only with the mind. Whereas in the Ishvara, it takes about the total karana sarira of all jivas put together. So when we talk about pralaya, pralaya means Ishvara deliberately brings in the tamasic aspect of it, so that all the jivas in the potential form as the karana sarira goes into the potential state, and that's we call it a pralayam. And this also been described in our Vedanta, what is the pralayam, what is the layam, and all that. So from the Ishvara point, it's not ignorance is dominated. In that state also he is knowledgeable, but he may keep the role of the ajnana at that place from the point of the totality. It's very important to know that, because Ishvara is not ajnani, he is not samsari, whereas the jiva is a samsari. Now let's ask the question, what happens when jiva realizes that aham brahmasmi? That means he has become a jnani. So jnani will still living in the body, mind, intellect as though, then what happens to him? We call him jivan mukta. So what is happened? The avarana shakti has been cut down, and only the vikshepa shakti and jnana shakti can be manifested depending upon whether he is in the state of meditation or in the state of waking state. All that is possible provided I am identifying myself with the particular area. So when I say it is the jiva becomes a jnani, that is becoming a jnani in the waking state only, then he uses the avarana shakti is gone, but vikshepa shakti and the jnana shakti are now dominant. That means rajasic and tamasic. Now what happens when you go to sleep? Does jnani sleep or not? Then is there an ajnanam for the jivan mukta? If ajnanam comes again after jnanam, then what good is this jnanam? So obviously the ajnanam, mula ajnanam cannot come for jivan mukta. Then how does he sleep? So what, does he know anything at all in the sleep? He does not know anything, because now avarana shakti is deliberately brought in to cover that, but he himself does not. Therefore he still understood that I am a sakshi, but that sakshi jnanam is not expressed in the mind and intellect. Now the mind and intellect has folded down into the Anandamaya kosha. When we analyze the deep sleep state, all these things are required. Essentially, deep sleep state is state where the sushma sariram, the buddhi, the pancha pranas goes back into the Vijnanamaya kosha, which we will analyze the koshas, and in the Vijnanamaya kosha itself is folded, and that's what we call it Anandamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha is intellectual sheath, and intellectual sheath is one that discriminates subject-object relationships. When it is folded, there is no subject-object relationship, therefore he is dukkha rahitam. That means he has no sorrow at that time. Absence of sorrow is what we call happiness in the deep sleep state. Whereas the realization is not that. Realization is a recognition that I am total, because that understanding is not there in the deep sleep state. But for a jnani, that understanding is there, but now that is essentially is the jnana aspect is lowered down and avarana is brought in, and that's what is called his sleep. Therefore, he has a potential jnanatvam is potential form, and it expresses back in terms of when the mind is awake. That's why the ajnanam belongs to antakarana, not to the jiva as pure consciousness, and that ajnanam has that mind which has become which has ignorance. Now that mind has gained the knowledge, therefore that knowledgeable mind is now folded in the deep sleep state. So when a jnani sleeps at the laya level, when the jnani sleeps, he is as though bringing in the avarana shakti where it is covering the jnanam also, but at the same time projecting only absence of everything, including absence of that aham brahmasmi is also covered, because that knowledge is in the antakarana. See, everything is fitting now. So when a Jivan Mukta sleeps, he also sleeps like anybody else, and in his deep sleep there is no jnanam that I am a jnani is not there, because the mind that has a jnanam is also folded, but he sleeps as a jnani, and whereas we sleep as ajnanis. The difference is both sleep. Now look at the Ishvara. When he goes to pralaya, when you talk about pralaya, all jivas of samashti vasanas go back into subtler form, and in that form non-difference of yashti and samashti also, and there Ishvara is though sarvajnaha, at the same time he let the tamasic aspect of avaranas to take place, so that all jivas essentially in that state. And when he wakes up, essentially Vedajnanam and Sarvajnatvam, because all these things are at a transactional level only, he comes up with the total creative power, and using the previous vasana of all jivas, of all things that are in the potential form, are projected back again, the whole creation starts. So the laya and pralaya are parallel, and the jiva and Ishvara are both parallel. Jiva is from the point of waking state and the dream state and the deep sleep state. We are talking about the Vishwam and Tejasa and Prajna at the Jiva level, and from the point of Ishvara, Virat Swarupam and Hiranyagarbha and Ishvara or Antaryamin is what it is from the Ishvara level. And these are at the point of all Chidabhasa level, that means reflected consciousness. So Jiva is also reflected consciousness, Ishvara is also reflected consciousness. Reflection of what? Reflection of the total Brahman. So one total Brahman reflecting at the Jiva level as a Jiva and the Ishvara level as a Ishvara. So when we're talking about Tattvamasi, you are that, we are not equating now any of the reflections at that level, we are only equating the original consciousness, that is what is getting reflected at the local level and at the global level. All this is implied, therefore we should not have any doubt in terms of when I realize, would everybody realize? Because these are the questions that are posed by Visishtadvaitins as well as Dvaitins. When I realize, the realization is occurring at the micro level or at the local level of the mind and intellect of the Jiva. So when particular Jiva realizes, he realizes what? He realizes Aham Brahmasmi by what? By his mind. So his mind and understand the consciousness that in me is nothing but the total consciousness. Now how does he look at the other whole universe now? This is what, because some people think that once you are Jnani, you won't be able to see the world, because now you are a Brahman. No, it is the local mind that has realized. So when the local mind realizes, other minds have not realized. Other minds are still having a ajnana. So we have a Veshti ajnana, individual ajnana, and Samashti ajnana, individuals plus total put together. So when I realize it as I am Brahman, Home, the internet is off, we're back again. So when we're talking about when I realize, what do I realize? I realize that Aham Brahmasmi, that means I am the total. But realization at my local mind level, so when I realize that I am, I also realize many things. When I am in total, that means Aham Brahmasmi, I myself reflect using the Samashti Vasanas as a Ishvara, and I also am conscious of the Samashti Vasanas operating, but also I have understood that I am, is local mind is also part of the creation too. So I look at the body mind intellect as though using the body mind intellect, since the body mind is intellect are still functioning and still perceiving the world around. So through the body mind intellect, the Vikshepa Shakti and the other Shaktis are going on. The Jnana Shakti is there at that level of the Jiva level. At the same time, I also understood, knowing that Aham Brahmasmi, then this becomes what? The whole creation becomes my vibhuti, because I am seeing the creation, I am seeing the world around, I am seeing everyone going through different states as though every object and every human being is pursuing, the whole world is moving, and I look at the whole world as a part of my own Leela or my own vibhuti. I am untouched by it. So essentially, a Jnani is the one who recognizes that I am Brahmasmi at the local mind level, also recognize that I am the total, which is pure consciousness, and it's the same consciousness, it's reflecting at the total level as the Ishvara, and also at the global level, at each individual mind, it's my own presence, as Krishna says, I am there in everyone's heart. At the same time, I will not be knowing what the other minds have it, that's a different field, because I may not identify with those particular minds. Therefore, I look at upon all them as the enlivening factor in everything, without identification with any one of them, and looking at the Ishvara and the creation as my own vibhuti. I may not say that aloud, because people consider that as a blasphemy. I may say, for politeness, it is all Ishvara Srushti and so on, but Ishvara is himself understood that it is my own consciousness, as I am the totality reflected in the total vasanas or total maya as the Ishvara. That is how a Jnani will be looking at the creation. So Jnani will see creation, and he can also identify with the local body mind intellect whenever he wants for execution of certain things using that body mind intellect, because the people, the sadhakas or jivas who are mature enough are longing for a teacher who is Brahmanishta and Shrotriya, and here is a one who has gone through the scriptural study and got established in the Brahmanishta, and it's ready available, the apartment or ready available the instrument for teaching. Therefore, the Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, now identifying with the local BMI for the sake of teaching, can teach using I am the teacher and these are my disciples, or these are the disciples teaching. All this will go on in the understanding of the Jiva, of Jivan Mukta. So depending upon the Jivan Mukta status, because we can think of Jivan Mukta classifications later in the next talk, but at least we should have a clear understanding. A Jivan Mukta is the one who has understood using the local mind that the consciousness that is getting reflected in the local mind is nothing but the pure consciousness that is Anantam, that is infinite, which is also getting reflected at the total point as an Ishvara, at an individual point at each individual Jivas also. All that is known by knowledge of self-realization. So, Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani. That's how Krishna says Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam. All beings are in me, and Sarva Bhutani cha, the self in me is a self in all. Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam. So in everyone, every bhuta, the essence is myself, and all are in me only. Even the inert things are also in me only, because there is no real inert things in the world, because we said Brahman is pure consciousness, he cannot become inert. So if it all is inert, it's only appearance only. All that is implied in understanding what is Jiva and from the Ishvara. So Ishvara, with the knowledge, he can come down, and we call it avataram. Whereas Jiva, with the knowledge, he can appreciate at the local level, and that's what called Jivan Mukta. So all this is essentially parallel in terms of Jiva and Ishvara, and Jivan Mukta and Ishvara and Avatara. Also all are self-consistent, provided we understand the local avidya and the global avidya, the vyashti avidya, samashti avidya, and the avarana shakti here and avarana shakti at the Ishvara level, where normally in the projecting the avarana shakti is low, only the jnana shakti and the sattva shakti is providable. The sattvam is essentially jnanam. So when we say it is of the nature of knowledge, that's why we call people, he is a bright student. Brightness is not talking about the luminosity at the light level. We talk about luminosity at the grasping level or knowledge level. That is the brightness. So when the Advaita Vedanta says Jnana Swarupam is Jyotir Jyotihi, is the light of all lights. We cannot imagine it's made of light, and Surya Koti is Samaprabha. It is shining like thousands of suns, because all the 1,000 suns are known only because of that light. And that is the understanding has to be clear in terms of, because the same Bhagavan Ramana uses in terms of Divya Vibhuti, same Sattvic is the matter there, Sattva Guna Pradhana is the matter in the moksha, and he calls it a luminous, but here we're talking about luminosity is not of the type we are talking about. It is still a matter, therefore it is just the projection of the total consciousness comes out clearly in all brightness, and that's what is called Jnana Swarupa. All that is implied. With this we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.